is Everyday Expertise, and I'm Angela, and I'm here with Michelle Franklin. You might remember Michelle from our very first video. If you don't, at the end, after you've watched this, follow the link at the end of the video. See our first interview. It's really good. So it is November, and it's time for NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month. Yes. National Novel Writing Month. It's a bit of a tongue twister.
I didn't make it. I didn't make that.
Know. Each year, hundreds of thousands of writers at all levels of their craft commit to write at least 50,000 words in 1 month.
Slackers.
Yeah, I know. It's basically the length of a literary novel. Since NaNoWriMo is about stimulating creativity and getting people creating, we've asked a couple participants this month to sit down and talk about their goals and experiences with this now international event. So first is novelist Michelle. So tell me a little bit about your experience with NaNoWriMo. How long have you been participating?
I think the first time I participated, I actually have to think about this. I think the first time I actively participated was maybe 2010. Mm-hmm. Before that, maybe I did it without realizing it, but I was only aware of NaNoWriMo in like 2010. Mm-hmm. I would say maybe 2011. Mm-hmm. Not that it was that long ago, but when you get old, everything just kind of smashes together. So I think I did something. I think I used to think it was 60,000, mm-hmm. and I aimed for that. Right. But I ended up writing that many words, but not actually finishing a book. Mm-hmm. Because the goal is the words, right? Yeah. The whole point is to really get you writing.
Of course.
That's what they want you to do. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily to finish a book. If you actually do finish a book, that's great. Mm-hmm. But you still have to edit it and format it, and maybe that's just your first draft or something like that. But I think 2010 was the first time I did it, and I don't think I finished a full book. Mm-hmm.
Well, also the genre you write in, the minimum is usually 70,000.
Yeah, that's true. It depends though. Nonfiction. Mm-hmm. It's
shorter, yeah.
It could be anything really. Mm-hmm. It's usually for literary. It's mm-hmm. usually about 40 to 50,000 is what constitutes as a novel. Anything else is anything shorter than that is a novella, and then mm-hmm. even shorter than that is a novelette, I guess. And then anything over that is just a doorstopper. But it's fine though. It's fine as long as the story gets out and it gets mm-hmm. out in a coherent way, which sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. Then it's fine. But usually my books are around about 40, 50,000. Just because I do them in volumes. I have if my publisher says to me, this book that's about 300, could you cut it in little pieces? That'd be good. So I usually cut it in pieces. I honestly don't know what's going to happen with the Nano this year, because mm-hmm. I'm also teaching in the middle of doing it. Right. So I will probably finish it because I always do. But I don't think I'll be able to finish a novel by the end of it. Maybe half of one, or maybe 2 bits of one, or mm-hmm. something like that.
So is that what you've decided to write for NaNoWriMo this year? Is a novel? I think it's expanded now. I'm
actually trying to think about
you get the words out, but people have been writing all sorts of things.
Yeah, I have my ongoing nonfiction series. Right. So that's getting written at the mm-hmm. same time, and then I have my 3 concurrent fiction series. Mm-hmm. So there will probably be a little of each, and there already is a little of each. So I'm about 9,000 words in on the fiction stuff, mm-hmm. and I haven't counted the nonfiction. Mm-hmm. I think that's the thing is I don't really count, because especially if you go back and you edit, mm-hmm. that also counts. Oh yeah. Yeah. So if you're writing something, mm-hmm. and let's say you've written 5,000 words for one day, on day 2, if you start editing the thing that you have looked at for your first day, mm-hmm. that still counts as writing. Yeah. So the word count maybe is not, rewrites count as writing. Mm-hmm. So the word count is maybe not that important. The important is just that you're doing it, and doing it every day. Mm-hmm. So do you have a word count goal? Not really. Like I said, not really. I mean, the goal that they give is with 50,000. Mm-hmm. And that's a realistic goal, because that comes out to was like 1,600 or so words a day or something. So if it's 1,600 words a day, mm-hmm. That's great. Just writing every day should really be the goal. If you do 500 words one day and then 3,000 words the next day and then just 50 words the day after, it's fine. Just do it every day.
Yeah.
Because I think people panic about having to do the word count every day. Whereas if you just focus on writing a little bit every day, it will become more natural to you and you won't focus on the word count that much anymore.
So I think you were saying before that have you consistently met your goals?
Oh yeah, I've always finished whatever the 50,000, but it doesn't mean that I've finished a new book.
Right.
So sometimes I have, but this time I don't know. I mean, I'm also working on a short story for somebody else, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
I say that, and then usually by the last week I just blast through and go.
Then you have more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is it about NaNoWriMo that appeals to you? What do you think?
I think the joy of it at first was finding that there were so many other people who also did it. Whereas now it's enjoying watching other people do it. Because I know I can do it. That's my job. That's what I do. But there's that vicarious joy of watching students do it for the first time where they didn't think they would be able to, or watching people who haven't written in a long time start doing it. I had a student in one of my classes recently who was 65 and she wanted to write her memoirs. All old women want to write their memoirs. But she wanted to write her memoirs and she was a pretty decent writer, but she said to me, I have ideas, but it's always right before I go to bed. And I said, okay, well, I don't see any problem with that. That's great.
Get a notepad.
Yeah, get a notepad, get a recording, or just have a recording device, or use your phone. Right? There's so many cheap recording apps. Just have one on your phone, and even if it's 5 minutes right before bed, just quickly write it down. And I also said to her, how do you sleep with going, oh yeah, I have an idea, I'm just going to go to bed. I don't. How does that happen to me that I can't sleep unless it's out? Otherwise, I'll panic about it. So they're going, I'm gonna forget.
She's probably got very vivid dreams.
She's old, maybe. I say old.
I know.
Far behind.
I know. I tell myself movies in dreams. It's basically.
Why aren't you writing them down when you wake up?
Because sometimes I wake up and I try to write it down. And by the time I'm getting somewhere with writing it, I've forgotten it. It's no longer solid in my mind. But some of my stories have actually been started out as dreams.
Oh yeah, that happens. Absolutely.
Like I had a dream. I had this weird dream about this story that my grandmother had told me about a girl she knew. When she was younger, and then it had sort of seeped into my subconscious, and I'd had this very vivid dream about it, and then the next day I wrote it down, and I wrote the whole story for a writing class. So that actually was a dream. So that happens,
Did you make it a book though?
No, it was basically a short story. That's never been published.
You know the space I'm giving you right now.
I know. Yeah. And I think probably the only published story I have, it was from a writing prompt for an anthology, but I think some of it was probably also dream as well, But most of my dreams, my subconscious tells me movies, plays me movies in my dreams, and then I lose half of it, unfortunately, by the time I get to write it down.
You need one of those machines hooked up to you that records your dreams.
Yeah, that's what it is. Somebody needs to invent that. It records the visuals.
It already exists, but not for the general public, unfortunately. The key is just making sure that if you have those creative bursts, whether they be in dreams or no, just write it down, record it somehow, and that's it. So, like we were talking about before, unfortunately, November is not always the best month for people to do this, but that's the point. I think because it's not a great month.
Yeah.
And because it's before the holidays, and because students have midterms, and if you can write now during one of the busiest months of the year, you can do it at any time. And I think a lot of people get caught up on, I have to do it now because it's November and because it's NaNoWriMo. rather than thinking, well, I could do this anytime. If you just plan properly, you can do it anytime. But because it's also the solidarity factor, right? Because everybody's doing it, and you know people who are doing it. People come together in writing
Peer
groups,
pressure.
and being accountable to somebody. As I also tell my students, being accountable to somebody makes it makes you not necessarily want to write more, but it makes you finish things. So, for example, I'm always accountable to my publisher and or to readers and things like that. But I have a student who she just needed motivation every day. And I know that she's with somebody, so I said, okay, well, just no sex every day until you've written something, and I want you to tell your boyfriend, and he's gonna do that. And then she wrote to me, she said, yeah, it works, unfortunately. But if you have that accountability system, which that buddy system that everybody has during NaNoWriMo, people seem to be more interested in writing. But like I say, you can do this any time. You pick any month. It doesn't. I think there's even Camp NaNoWriMo in the summer or something like that. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I am most motivated, like right after meeting an idol or something like this, or.
Yeah, because your brain is on pause. Yeah.
Yeah, I have these like bursts of motivation. I think it was maybe a year ago, or maybe 2 now. I went to Ad Astra and I met Brandon Sanderson, and I came back from Ad Astra and I was like, I'm gonna write every day, just like him, and that lasted for a couple months.
That's pretty good. I thought you were gonna say a couple of hours. A couple of months. That's pretty good.
A couple months, and then life happened, and I wasn't able to do it every day, and I lost the motivation, sort of drained away. Maybe I need Brandon Sanderson to show up in my life every once in a while.
No, you just need me to kick you in the ass. You don't want me. You don't want to be accountable to me, because I will come to your house and make sure I will bad wolf blow your house down until you actually finish writing.
That would probably. You know what? I was probably the most prolific in school when I was accountable to something.
Yeah. Or in school, usually, or creative writing students always say that they're most prolific, not necessarily when they're in the creative writing courses, but it's when they're in other courses and they're bored to death that they want to write, because your creative brain is working. I mean, obviously you only have one, but the creative parts of your brain, while your brain is bored, or suddenly the gears start turning and start thinking of things. When I worked
part-time, I wrote my entire thesis, like half of it at work, because there wasn't very much to do. Sorry, that's a secret.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Well, I don't work there anymore, so it's okay.
Kids, what do we learn? Do your thesis at your job.
If they let you. And they didn't care.
Well, if they let you.
They knew what I was doing.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah, and it's not like I made it very obvious. Anyway, we're off topic. So, yeah, I mean, we were talking about motivation. I mean, other than, the general feeling of accountability, what keeps you motivated during NaNoWriMo?
Money?
Money? No, there is no money in NaNoWriMo. Sorry, kids.
There's no money in writing either. Yeah. Prepare for poverty, children, let me tell you. No, there is, but in certain ways. And you have to... I'll start off by saying this. Writing, as in any creative art, is really a disease.
Right.
If you can do something else, do it. If you cannot do anything but doing the art, you don't have a choice. It's a condition. It's a mental problem. And I have it, and I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. I mean, just like you, when I was in school a long time ago, I was working 3 jobs, and it was just to pay for school, but it was at my other jobs that I was doing all the writing, because I didn't have. So I guess I learned how to write anywhere, because I had no choice, and then that just sort of translated over into what I'm doing now. I still have to do normal things. I still have to do the laundry and clean the house and all that stuff. Until I do make the fortune, as Mary Crawford says, but.
Get the J.K. Rowling bucks.
That's too much for me.
The castle?
That's.
You don't want the castle in England? Huh?
I don't want to be responsible for that. You know what's weird is if somebody says, so people always say to you, what happens, if your work is really popular, and it's like, nothing will happen. I will buy a country home and that's it. And just give the rest to creating schools or something like that, giving back to the community, because that's what I do now anyway. It's not really, it wouldn't be anything very different. I still volunteer. I would still do the same things. Yeah. So, but when I think of all these people with big houses, I think, oh God, I don't want to clean that. It's gonna,
I don't think she's cleaning it. Maybe she does. I don't know. If I'm not being fair, if maybe she does.
If maybe I could use it to have a library.
I think she probably has some staff.
If I had a team, that would be fine too. But again, I guess because I'm an introvert, so even though I like some people, having too many people at once, I think I would get very flustered, and I don't think I would do well with that. But for motivation, I joked and said money, but it's for when I talked about being accountable, that's kind of what it is. Because if you don't finish the work, you don't get paid. I mean, many places don't give advances anymore. Even the big publishers don't give advances anymore. So if you don't finish your work, there's nothing at the end of the day. Also, I have to finish my work to give it to the artist, to Twisk, who does all the art for my series. So if she doesn't have that work to read, she can't make the images for it. Again, it's that whole system of being beholden to somebody else for the work. I could just sit here all day and twiddle my thumbs, and nobody would really know the difference. But because I can do those quick speed bursts where I can spend an hour, write 3,000 words, and go, all right, I'm done for the day, and then just sit with my thumb up my ass, and nobody would know. Nobody would know the difference. But also for my nonfiction stuff, I never used to write nonfiction because I personally always found it boring. People think it's funny when I write it because I write about misery, but I always used to think it was uninteresting. And then when I started writing about my downstairs neighbor, not the current one, the guy who used to sing Colors of the Wind at 2 a.m. And hang out on the balcony making robot noises and things like that. This guy was a gem. But I used to write about him because he was so ridiculous, and people loved it. And so every day people would ask me, what's going on with your downstairs neighbor? And again, it's that level of somebody else is waiting for this work. And that doesn't motivate me, but it's sort of, it fuels the inspiration. Right. Whereas if I had not been looking for if I had not been looking for an event or something like that, if I had not been paying attention, put my headphones on and just be dead to the world, I wouldn't have something for the nonfiction to write about. Whereas now, because I do have 2 nonfiction books and the third one's coming out, now that we do have a series running and people do read it and they share it and they find it interesting, they ask me for things. So for example, they say, oh, how's your Scottish neighbor doing? Or how's the lady across the street? Or how's, So I think if you have cultivate that audience, and it doesn't matter what that audience is. If it's your family, if it's somebody online, if it's your spouse, it doesn't matter. Cultivate an audience that's interested in your work, even if they don't like what you're writing. Just to say, oh, how's that book going, or how's this book going? Because I have plenty of friends who don't read my work, but they always ask me, how are these books going, or how is that story going, or something like that, and that really helps to kick you in the ass a bit. I don't need like we talked about last time. I have the opposite problem. I am working on too many projects at once, so I don't have the writer's block issue.
So did you pick a project though for like the word count on the website kind of thing?
2. So okay. I have 2. So I'm doing the nonfiction and the fiction separately. Yeah. But because of that, I don't use the one that's on the NaNoWriMo website because they don't allow you to separate it. Right.
They expect you to be doing one project.
Yeah, just one. Which again, I don't agree with. I would say all words count. Right. All words matter. But they do. Yeah. All words count. All editing counts. All formatting counts. Everything counts. And they don't allow you to write things like that. So they don't allow you to say 1,000 words rewritten or edited or something like that.
Yeah. No, because they just want you to be making the first draft. I mean, that's their goal, I would think, is that they're trying to get people who are, hesitant about writing their first novel to really just get that draft out.
Yeah, just finish it.
Yeah.
Even if it's crap, it's fine. You'll throw it in a bonfire later. Just do the work, and then
then
you'll move on.
You'll move on to something else. How much planning goes into things? Because I mean, apparently you can start with NaNoWriMo like in September or something.
Yeah, because I think they allow
submit a plan or something.
Yeah, you can submit either a summary or formatted like chapters or things like that. I don't do that. No, I don't.
How much personal planning do you go into before you start writing? It's like, I'll pick that project. All right, starting NaNoWriMo.
Well, to be fair, I just finished a book. So in the beginning of October, I finished the Meriden novellas. So all 4 of them were finally done, formatted, and out. So the Myrellanos is finished and out. So ever since that moment, like mid-October, I've been free to do what I wanted. So I had a couple of stories that I was already working on. I have another Bubba Connery story that I started. I can hear Brittany laughing right now. I have one Bubba Connery story, and then I have to finish the next nonfiction. But that I'm not really going to focus on much this month.
Okay.
And then I have 2 other fiction stories that I'm doing at the same time.
Right.
So really, it's like 4 projects at once. I told you it's a disease.
Yeah.
I have problems. It's a disease. If you can do something else, just find another profession.
Yeah.
If you can't do anything else, then this is for you. But you can't be sitting around going, but NaNoWriMo is too hard. I don't know what I'm gonna do. If you think NaNoWriMo is difficult, then maybe this profession is not for you. Or find a different type of writing.
Yeah.
Maybe journalistic writing or essay writing, technical writing, other things where you don't have to do a solid word count every day or every month.
Yeah, exactly. Have you participated in any of their like community events?
No.
No.
No, sorry. It's not because I don't want to. We don't really have them here.
No.
There's
like a Montreal Facebook group or something.
Yeah, I'm part of the Facebook group.
Okay, yeah.
And
do they do anything?
They have writing classes in October, and then they have meetups. I just did my own writing classes at the JPL. Yeah. But again, it was not part of. I invited the people to come, but it was not part of the NaNoWriMo necessarily.
Yeah.
I did a NaNoWriMo special on Wednesday, and we blazed through genre writing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, every single type of genre you could think of. It was 2.5 hours, but they ended up writing about 10 pages by the end of it.
That's good.
And that's the point, is just to get you writing. If you can't think of something for one genre, skip it, go on to the next one. It's just to keep them from getting stuck.
Right.
In thinking, oh, but I can't do this, so I can't do other things.
How many students did you have?
Just 4.
Just 4.
4 for this one. Yeah. But for the full 6-week writing course, I had about 7.
Okay.
That's really not. I mean, it's just a small room.
Yeah.
It wasn't, but it was something that the JPL sponsored. So.
The Jewish Public Library.
Oh yeah, sorry, Jewish Public Library.
Just for anyone who's not familiar with what JPL is, that would be the Jewish Public Library.
It's a very nice library.
In Montreal.
And so I also did one at the Westmount Library, and they're probably going to ask me to do another one again.
Oh yeah.
And but for the actual NaNoWriMo group, I did one NaNoWriMo class last year.
Right.
And that one was packed. It was about 25 people, but we had a regular sized meeting room, and I didn't think that many people were going to come, and it was fine. Because my material is for any amount of people that show up, just in case. But I was quite shocked. I didn't think that was going to happen.
You didn't realize there were that many people participating who would want to take advantage of the class?
How do I say this without being self-deprecating? I don't think I can. I wasn't aware that there were that many people who cared that much that I was giving the class. It's true. I didn't think so, because there are other writers who give classes.
Yes, of course.
And I didn't know how many people were in those classes, because whenever I'd see the events, it would say 4 going or 5 going. So I prepared for that. I thought maybe that would be it. Yeah, I was wrong.
Oh, well, that's good. That's a good kind of wrong.
Yeah. No, I was happy with that. So maybe I'll do another one if people want, because a few people messaged me saying that they had missed the one that I just did.
Yeah.
Could I do another one in the middle of the month? So maybe I will. Maybe I'll do one about how not to procrastinate or something like that. But I always do it as part of the group, not necessarily as part of the organization. Again, not because I have anything against them. I'm just not aware of what they're doing.
What exactly they're doing. Yeah. All right. Okay. So we've talked about a lot. Do you have any final advice for people who want to start with NaNoWriMo?
I do. I wrote it down because I'm old. Okay, so this is what I tell all of my students whenever they ask me about writer's block, procrastination, anything like that. Ready? Here are all the rules. Number one, do the work. Do the work. There are no shortcuts. There's no video, even this one. There's no video that's going to make you magically write the book that you want to write. You have to write it. That's it. It doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter what type of book you want to write. Doesn't matter novella, poem, song. Doesn't matter what type of writing. You have to do the work. Do the work. You have to do the work. So one of my students said to me that she was watching all these different videos about 10 things you should do to be a great writer. And I said, do you notice that all the published writers or most of the well-known writers, they don't have those videos because they're too busy doing the work. Do the work. That's it. And usually I don't do these types of things because I find that it takes away from the actual business of doing the work.
Yeah.
And nobody is going to tell you what to do or how to do it. You have to figure that out on your own.
Pretty much, yeah.
But that leads us to number 2. All writing counts as writing. So whether that be formatting, whether that be summary, plot lines, character bios, it all counts. Because I think people get hung up on the fact that, I haven't written any prose today, or I only wrote a summary or an outline, and I didn't write the actual, what they think is actual writing, or the book today. And they get too focused on it. Don't get too focused on it. All writing counts as writing. If it's edits, do the edits. If it needs to be done, great. Make it sound better. Don't get focused on new writing only counts as writing. It's all writing. Yeah. So even if you have to sit there and edit the same piece for a week, just do it. It's fine. And that leads us to 3. 3, write every day, read every day. Doesn't matter what it is. Read different things. So don't only read a fiction book. Read an essay. Read a science report. Read all these different things, just so this way you can enrich your understanding, enrich your vocabulary. Read dictionaries. Read thesauruses. Those are always fun. I love all the old ones. Yeah. Like the old 1800s vulgar dictionary is the best one. Yeah, I love all that crap. But read different things, because if you're let's say you're a fantasy writer and you are writing a fantasy book and you only read fantasy, that's fine, because if you want to see that you make sure that you aren't doing what other people necessarily have done exactly, that's fine. But if you're not reading, let's say you're not reading atlases, or you're not reading about history books, or things that will enrich your world building abilities, you're going to find that you'll get limited after a while. So read different types of things. Yeah. Which leads to number 4. Let stories go where they need to go. If you have an outline and things are not going exactly as you planned it 5 months ago, throw out the outline and just let it go. Yeah. Because people get too caught up in, but the stories, I wanted these 2 characters to be together and all these.
This is where it was supposed to go.
Yeah, and just like you were saying before with J.K. Rowling, how many times did she say that she regretted putting Ron and Hermione together? I'm just saying. If you don't necessarily go for what you planned. It's fine if you have I would say keep your outline very general. So when you get too specific on things, if you can't figure out how A goes to B, you're going to get stuck and you're going to write yourself into a hole. And then that's when people go, I have writer's block because I don't know where to go. Just let the story go naturally. Even if it goes to a weird place, you can always fix it later. Yeah. You can always edit later. Yeah. That's fine. The point is just get it done. And again, number 5, the last thing, always be accountable. Like I said, be accountable to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter who that person is. It could be your spouse, it could be your child, it could be your cat. I don't care. Be accountable to somebody who's going to check up on you every day.
Yeah.
I have a friend who wanted to write a sci-fi novel, but he just never finished it. He went to a friend of his and said he wrote him a check. I think it was for $1,000, and he I think it was for like 2 or 3 months. He put the date, and he said to his friend, if I don't give you a book by this date, you can cash that check. And it worked, and he did it because he had that extreme motivation of, that's a lot of money I can't give away. And it worked. Yeah, and I've said to him, oh, I'll be your other person. That's fine. I'm in for free money. Yeah. But he never did it again. But he also never finished another book.
Oh.
So be accountable to somebody who's going to really watch you and make sure that it's finished. The thing is, if I have a friend who's actually quite a famous writer, and he's such a nice guy, and he always sends me these messages whenever I finish another book. He always says, "How do you finish them so fast?" I said, "No, how do you finish them so slow?" I don't understand. His last book was like in 2011 or something like that. I mean, granted, he's writing other things in between, and he's writing for money. Yeah. So he's able to do that, but because of that, his personal projects are suffering. So he just missed. He told me he just missed a deadline because his publisher is very lax about deadlines. I said, well, then it's really your publisher's fault because they should be the ones telling you, hey, we're not going to give you any money. You won't eat if you don't bring us another book. So the thing is, I'm the one who prods him every day and says, so is it done? Is it finished? Are you done? Are you done? Are you done? Can I read it? Is it done? Is it done? Can I read it? Is it done? And he'll give it to me, but oh no, it's not finished.
It's never finished.
It's never finished. Oh, finish it! It's ridiculous. I don't know why I need to finish things.
Yeah.
When things are left unfinished, even if I finish them 3 years later. That's another thing. If you're as an asterisk to the last number, if you are working on multiple projects, which is fine, if that keeps you from getting writer's block, please do work on multiple projects. If one of your projects is not working or you can't figure out how to finish it, just put it aside. Don't delete it. Just put it aside. I wrote a book about 2 characters. I finished one character's entire story arc, and then I could not, for the life of me, figure out the other one. I knew it happened in the late part of this, but in these early years, my brain could not I have no idea what was going on. 3 years later, I went, oh, now I know, and I went back to it and I finished it. So, also don't be afraid to throw things out. Yeah. If something's really not working and you've put it aside and you realize after a really long time you don't like it or you don't need it anymore, just chuck it. That's it. You'll rewrite it better. That's
Pretty much.
it.
Yeah.
It's really not that difficult. It's something you have to get really good at. Is throwing things out, deleting things and throwing things out.
Killing your darlings, as they call it, isn't it? Yeah.
It's fine because it's part of the process. Yeah. Okay? So if I wrote the first draft of Kantara, which is one of my old books, and my first publisher, who's no longer around, my first publisher took it, liked it, and sent it out. And when they went down, the rights reverted back to me. But then I read it and no, and I just rewrote the whole thing. It actually gave me a chance to redo it, which was sort of a blessing in disguise. Yeah. So if you, as the 2 asterisks, write different projects if it makes you feel better, and if you need to don't be afraid to throw things out. That's it.
Okay, cool.
Those are all the tips. I have no other.
Those are great tips. Those are 5 plus great tips.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Michelle. I hope you guys found this interesting and informative and inspiring.
And if you don't rate the book, I'm coming to your house and blowing it down.
Can people still join NaNoWriMo? Is it like,
anytime?
Is it basically like
no, anytime?
November 1st is the end.
You can enjoy. You can join in anytime. Yeah. I know people who started from the middle of the month and they've made it. So it's fine.
Well, there you go then.
Yeah.
So if you haven't joined and you're still thinking about
Do it now.
and you think it's too late,
Do it
it's
now.
not. It's not too late. And if you really don't feel like doing it this month, just plan to do it next year.
Or do it next month. Like I said, you don't have to do it.
You don't necessarily need a month to do it in.
Pick 3 weeks. Save all your vacation days. Pick 3 weeks. Do it in your 3 weeks.
There you go. All right. So, thank you for watching. This has been Everyday Expertise. I'm Angela.
I'm Michelle.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this interview. Be sure to share this video with friends and colleagues who may also enjoy this topic. Let us know your thoughts by leaving a comment below or check the description for our social media. See you next time.